Seventh Sunday in Ordinary Time, Year B. The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. When Jesus returned to Capernaum, word went round that he was back, and so many people collected that there was no room left even in front of the door. He was preaching the word to them when some people came bringing him a paralytic carried by 4 men. But as the crowd made it impossible to get the man to him, they stripped the roof over the place where Jesus was, and when they had made an opening, they lowered the stretcher on which the paralytic lay. Seeing their faith, Jesus said to the paralytic, "My child, your sins are forgiven." Now, some scribes were sitting there, and they thought to themselves, "How can this man talk like that? He is blaspheming. Who can forgive sins but God?" Jesus, inwardly aware that this was what they were thinking, said to them, "Why do you have these thoughts in your hearts? Which of these is easier, to say to the paralytic, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or to say, 'Get up, pick up your stretcher and walk'? But to prove to you that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins," he said to the paralytic, "I order you, get up, pick up your stretcher and go off home." And the man got up, picked up his stretcher at once and walked out in front of everyone, so that they were all astounded, and they praised God, saying, "We have never seen anything like this." The Gospel of the Lord. Dr. Blenton, a well-known psychiatrist, said to his patient Surprise that he studied the Bible every day. He said that if enough people studied it, psychiatrists would be out of business. As an example, he spoke about the Prodigal Son and said that if people really study the core of the story, which sets no limits on God's mercy, all his patients, paralyzed by guilt feelings, would walk away free and healed. This is what happened to the man in the Gospel today. He had his physical and moral paralysis healed all in one go. This miracle is set against the backdrop of the unbelieving scribes who had no love of God in their hearts, despite claiming to believe in him. We could fall into the same trap as the scribes and entrust all forgiveness to God alone without any human change of heart on our part. Some people envisage God as someone who waves a magic wand and, hey, presto, all is forgiven. But it's not like that. Even God's hands are tied when it comes to forgiving the unrepentant. Don't we say, "Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who sin against us"? But the will to forgive on my part can be very much enhanced by other people working in the background. The paralytic, for instance, relied heavily on the local people who went to great lengths to get him to Jesus in the first place. They were forced to strip part of the roof away, and for going to such great lengths, Jesus commended their faith. After his resurrection, he passes on the power of forgiving sins to his apostles when he told them, "Those whose sins you forgive, they are forgiven." That same power is invested in priests when they absolve sins in the sacrament of penance. The priest says, "I absolve you," not "God absolves you." This is a prime example of the divine-human partnership at work. Jesus was a master at the art of delegation. That's why he founded his church. But away from the confessional, reconciliation should be the bread and butter of our everyday lives as Christians. If some of our friends, family, or colleagues are struggling with forgiveness, we can pull levers in the background to help set the wheels in motion for reconciliation to come about. You can't help but admire, for instance, the patience of George Michael, the American senator, George Mitchell, the American senator, who kept struggling even against the odds to bring the opposing sides together in Northern Ireland some years ago, if you remember. He never seemed to give up on the situation. We too can be part of the healing process when relationships become strained. Jesus says, "Blessed are the peacemakers." The healing of the paralytic was a concerted effort by the whole community. It wasn't Jesus acting alone. He founded a church of ordinary people to bring his healing and forgiveness to a fragmented world. Everyone can play their part, howsoever small, to bring this about. At the end of the gospel today, the healed man packed up his pallet, a potent symbol of his paralysis, and he went home. By our patience and perseverance, we too can help people move on with their lives and not stay stuck in an unforgiving past. That is faith in action. Thank you all for listening, and God bless you all.